Could the mysterious HDL these people have preserved for generations help unlock the secrets of the good cholesterol? When it comes to heart health, the more HDL, the better. But these people were healthy, and astonishingly, they had almost no HDL in their systems. Sirturi had a theory. Somehow, the mutated gene had supercharged the HDL, making it work more efficiently. Human trials with a synthetic version of the mutant HDL were conducted at the Cleveland Clinic by Dr. Steve Nissen, who was skeptical at first.
I thought it was really interesting, but you know, good scientists are always skeptical. And so, you know, we don't drink the Kool-Aid. And I must tell you, I thought the chances that this infusion in 6 weeks, is all we did was treat these people for 6 weeks, that it could reverse the buildup of plaque that had taken place over many decades, I thought it was a 1 in a million chance. And I was absolutely stunned when it worked.
The results were so promising that pharmaceutical giant Pfizer bought the rights to develop the treatment for a reported $1.3 billion. They did more research, but ultimately never released a drug. A number of companies are now working on the Limone story in hopes of cracking the code. But treatments won't be on the shelves anytime soon.
The problem was we had no way to make this stuff. And we still are struggling to find a way to make enough of it to turn it into a drug that can be used for large numbers of people.
The story is further evidence that the heart disease crime wave is more than a cholesterol numbers game. Genetic abnormalities can give heart protection to some, while causing a cholesterol crisis in others. Our fear of cholesterol in the diet is not all it's cracked up to be. Some people on statins continue to have heart attacks, and many heart attack victims have normal cholesterol levels. Back at the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Stanley Hazen has been searching for answers beyond cholesterol.
We can treat a person's cholesterol level down to the level of what they were when they were a baby. And we still know that there's a significant additional residual risk. So what are the other pathways that are involved beyond cholesterol?
Hazen's search beyond cholesterol led to a study of blood collected from heart disease victims.
We began with studies of thousands of subjects and said, what can we measure in the blood of humans that tracks with cardiac risk?
They did find a compound called TMAO, but where it came from was a mystery.
But finding that there was a hint that it may have come from bacteria, it really was a kind of eureka moment and very exciting.
What excited Hazen was that it seemed to show up first in the gut. When gut bacteria feed on what we eat, waste byproducts are excreted that show up in the bloodstream. Hazen thought this explained where the TMAO was coming from. But it took some testing to figure out what we ate to make it. The answer was carnitine. It's found in the same stuff they serve back at the Heart Attack Grill, red meat. It's long been associated with heart disease, but researchers suspected that cholesterol and fat couldn't fully explain the connection. Sensing new answers, Hazen investigated.
We had a feeding study that involved literally making steaks. And so we bought a George Foreman grill and started making small steaks, and then would do timed feeding studies to look at following ingestion of a steak, which is a rich source of carnitine, did certain metabolites appear in the bloodstream.
That certain metabolite did indeed appear, high levels of TMAO.
That was really the exciting moment where we saw that bacteria are having a huge impact on things that appear in our bloodstream. That compound will accelerate heart disease. It both enhances cholesterol to get deposited into cells of the artery wall, and it also inhibits the removal of cholesterol. So the net effect is more buildup.
Carnitine is found naturally in most meats. Amounts are low in chicken, higher in lamb, and kangaroo meat has 50 times more carnitine than beef. But carnitine has become a popular bodybuilding supplement and can even be found in energy drinks.
We're very concerned about the very widespread use of carnitine as a supplement. That's because carnitine is carnitine to the bacteria. It doesn't really matter whether it comes in an energy drink or a piece of steak. And we've now measured this in thousands and thousands of patients. If you ingest excess carnitine, long term, you might be at increased risk for developing heart disease. Decreasing the amount of red meat in the diet is probably a healthy thing to do. A lot of epidemiology data had already argued for this. This is just reinforcing it now with some data to explain yet another reason to cut the red meat from the diet. So I don't eat red meat on a daily basis like I used to. I now eat it less frequently, but I haven't eliminated it.
Aaron Holm doesn't eat a lot of red meat or drink energy supplements, so he is likely safe from TMAO. He's fit, at least on the outside, but his cholesterol levels have always been off the charts.
From a population perspective, your cholesterol is higher than the majority of the population. I'd say over 90% of the population.
Aaron's about to find out what shape he's in on the inside. When Aaron was diagnosed with high cholesterol in his 20s, doctors warned him he could be dead by the age of 40 if he didn't take statins. He decided not to, betting that a healthy lifestyle would trump the high cholesterol.
Good.
Now that he's 40, he's come to see Dr. Beth Abramson to find out if his bet paid off.
When we first sent you to the lab, your bad cholesterol or LDL cholesterol was so high we couldn't calculate it. So we went back and remeasured it, and your LDL cholesterol is 8.44. It's actually quite high. So your total cholesterol is 12.32. So from a population perspective, it's higher than the majority of the population. I'd say over 90% of the population. If I saw junk in your arteries, a buildup of atherosclerosis or plaque already, I'd say you're on the road to potentially having a stroke or a heart attack. But the good news is I did this measurement of your carotid arteries, and we don't see plaque. So that's good.
Yeah.
We are seeing a thickening, and let's talk about what that means. In Aaron's particular case, we saw a thickening in one of the parts of the arteries that we think is a measurement for future risk. It tells us that his arteries have been affected and damaged to some degree, likely from high cholesterol over the years.
The lady at the restaurant yelled, 200 pizzas, are you crazy?
If Aaron goes on a cholesterol medication, on a statin, which I'm hoping he will, his thickness in his arteries may not go down, but being put on the medication will reduce his risk, whether or not that measurement changes or not.
So your body has been exposed to high cholesterol for 20 years now. That's different than someone who just started off with a borderline elevation in cholesterol at 45 or 46. My personal and professional opinion would be that I would favor medical therapy for you.
And what would the medical therapy be?
I'd put you on a statin. I'd start you on a low dose because you're not keen on the concept of medication. Commonest side effect is no side effect.
But if you haven't had a heart attack, they're not really able to say with certainty that they reduce the risk.
There may be a benefit-risk ratio where the benefit outweighs any risk for you. So I don't prescribe cholesterol medications to all patients walking in this office. But there are certain patients who have not yet had a heart attack that we think are at higher risk. And the idea is to try and prevent that. Now the catch-22 is we never see what we're preventing.
Aaron has always known his cholesterol numbers are high, but his thickening arteries is new information and a new additional risk factor.
I was asking myself on the way in, I was like, what if they find that inside my body it's having an impact? What'll I do? And I said, well, the only thing that they can really recommend is statin. They don't have any other tools in the chest, really. There's not much else that they can do. So if they recommend, what'll I do? So I thought about it a lot, and I thought, well, if there is something going on in my body that's an indication that the cholesterol is having a negative impact, I'll probably go on the meds. And then monitor it and see how low a dosage I can maintain and have the result that I want.
After years avoiding statins, Aaron's decision to give them a try is a bit of a surprise. But while he's taken care of all the risk factors he can, you just can't run from your own genes. Or can you?
We have made tremendous progress in our understanding of cardiovascular disease. And in fact, at the population level, we do know that risk factors such as high blood pressure and high cholesterol can explain up to 90% of the risk. However, when it comes to specific patients, it's very difficult to predict